Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville and the lovely city of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so thankful that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. We want you to be here every single episode. So please be sure to subscribe to this show on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you find your podcast. We have a wonderful guest for you today, talking to us about her great new book, Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job. Our guest will be Jill Mango Weisfeld. Before we welcome Jill to the studios, we have a couple of announcements. We have a brand new Certified Great Read, and we have a couple of great sponsors to let you know about. First, our Certified Great Read. We are very, very excited to be able to announce that Love Grows and Grows, a blooming story for an extended family by Shannon Forster is our latest Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. You know that there's approximately 1 million new step families created every year in America? And traveling between families is something many stepchildren know all too well. Well, Love Grows and Grows, a blooming story for an extended family, follows the life of young siblings Flora and Leaf as they adjust to being part of a blended family. They visit their father and his new wife, Daisy, for the first time. Their stepmother, Daisy, is kind and friendly as she welcomes them into their new home. She prepares Flora's favorite meal, which is honey toasted sandwiches with sun chips on the side, and invites her best friends for a play date and includes her in cleaning the house. However, Flora struggles with whether or not to love her and accept her with an open heart. Divorce can be a hard adjustment for children. When parents remarry, the adjustment becomes more complicated. It takes time getting used to living in a blended family or a step family. Kids have lots of questions. Their emotions might be up and down, and understanding what is happening around them can be very confusing. But in this picture book by Shannon Forster, Flora soon realizes that change isn't so bad. And with the help of her loving mother, Rosa, she is finally able to accept and embrace the extended love from her stepmother and learns that love grows and grows. It's unlimited. The more flowers you add to the garden, the more beautiful it becomes. There's also a beautiful song included in the book. We really love Love Grows and Grows by Shannon Forster, our latest Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. We also want to let you know about our great sponsors. They make the Reading with Your Kids podcast possible. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Noah Noasaurus by Elaine Kylie Kearns. Do you know someone who is a Noasaurus? Is your spouse ever a Noasaurus? Is your child a Noasaurus? Does your child ever have one of those days where they wake up and the answer to everything is no? Well, have we got a picture book for you? Noah Noasaurus by Elaine Kylie Kearns. Noah Noasaurus woke up one morning feeling very no to brushing his teeth, no to eating breakfast, and definitely no to playing with his little brother. Things only get worse when Noah goes for a walk and discovers the relentlessly cheerful Toby Rex, Brian Brontosaurus, and Avaceratops following him. Together, the group starts a bona fide dino parade that even Noah can't resist. This light-hearted, whimsical story will have readers laughing along at Noah and his friends as well as their own bad moods. This hilarious book pairs two of little kids' favorite things, saying no and dinosaurs. Adults can also relate to waking up on the wrong side of the bed and feeling no all day long. Noah Noasaurus is available on Amazon and on Elaine's website, ElaineKylieKearns.com. This episode is also brought to you by I Can't Handle It by Laurie Wright. You know, if you're around kids these days, you may have noticed that many of them don't realize how very capable they really are. Many children haven't had practice solving their own problems, and therefore they think that they just can't do it. Kids need to know that they are quite capable of handling situations they encounter in everyday life and capable of handling all the emotions that come from those situations. Practicing handling their problems is essential for achieving success in the real world. Problems like missing shoes and having to turn off the TV, wanting a pet, or making a mistake. Kids learn best through repetition, and after reading this book and hearing the mantra, I can handle it over and over, They will identify with the child in the story. They will realize that they are just like him, and they will declare that they can handle it. You can learn more about I Can Handle It by Laurie Wright by going to her website, lauriewriter.com. Last and absolutely, positively not least, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by With the Courage of a Mouse, the Superhero School series by Donna Sager-Cowan. Cat the cat wants a home, a family, and friends she can count on. When suddenly she finds herself in Sweet Meadows, a long way from the alley she calls home. Cat discovers that she can talk, but she can't decide if she's dreaming or dead. Simon, a mouse, is having the worst day ever. Instead of celebrating his first day at superhero school, he's on the breakfast menu twice. A hawk considered him for an easy meal, but quick thinking changed that. Now a cat waits to pounce. Not if Simon can help it. With a quick plan and a matchstick, Simon speeds towards certain death. Will he arrive at superhero school? Join the entire Superhero School gang for their first adventure with The Courage of a Mouse, the Superhero School Series Book 1, a middle grade chapter book for ages 7 to 12, focusing on courage, friendship, and finding the superhero inside all of us. The series touches on common life themes and challenges with humor, patience, and self-improvement techniques. With the Courage of a Mouse by Donna Sager-Cowan, available wherever books are sold. Joining us right now from Scarsdale in the great state of New York, she is the author of a great new book called Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job. Please welcome to the show, Jill Weisfeld. Jill, how are you?
Hi, Jeb. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
I'm excited to have you on the show, and I'm excited for you to tell us all about what Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job is all about.
Well, Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job is a picture book geared to children about ages 4 to 9, and it's based on my dog, Riley, who's a therapy dog. And Riley is bored being a retriever, and she wants to be something more, find a job that's more meaningful, so she goes into Google to research working dog jobs. And throughout the book, children will learn about different working dog jobs until Riley finds the right fit for her.
I love that, pairing up kids' love of animals with their soon-to-be curiosity with technology.
Yes.
That's really great, and I'm guessing that Riley is a real being, someone near and dear to your heart.
Yes, Riley is she's actually called an English cream retriever. She's now 11 years old, and she's also a certified therapy dog, and she's been a therapy dog for 7 years, and she was certified with the Good Dog Foundation.
Now tell us what a therapy dog is.
So a therapy dog, not to get confused with the service dog, is a dog that brings comfort to people. So they will go, like Riley will go to school. She's a reading dog, and like she'll go to first grade classrooms, and kids will sit and take turns reading to her. And the kids feel they don't feel judged by the dog, and they're not intimidated. So they feel very comfortable practicing their reading skills. And they'll go to colleges during finals week and comfort the students. You know, when they're anxious about taking a final exam, they'll just come and pet Riley. And she also works, and all therapy dogs can work at retirement homes, assisted living, hospitals. So their job is basically to bring comfort. They're not service dogs where they can fly on airplanes and go into restaurants and, you know, go anywhere they want. So it's, you know, a little different.
And Riley actually went through a certification process. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so Riley went to school and through the Good Dog Foundation. So she first had to know basic commands such as sit, stay, come. And then once she got it approved to be accepted into the school, it was 5 classes, the last one being the graduation. And each class just taught her different aspects of being a therapy dog and introducing her to different things such as wheelchairs and, you know, different commands and people who were different than other people to see what their reaction is. Mm-hmm. And one of the hardest part for the dogs at therapy school is they're not allowed to talk or socialize with the other dogs. So for dogs being such social creatures, that was really difficult for her.
I imagine. I have, we mention my little wonder dog, Auggie, all the time. He doesn't get along with other dogs, so he would have the opposite problem. He wouldn't be looking to socialize with the dogs. He'd be looking to eat the other dogs, and he's small, so he'd probably be eaten. But that takes a lot of training for a dog to kind of ignore that natural instinct to bond and interact with the other dogs.
Yeah, that is definitely difficult. And when they're working also, they're not, like if she goes to the library, it'll be in a big room with like 5 other dogs and we each have our own spot. And they're not allowed to socialize until after the program's over. And then they, can all go and sniff each other and say hello and, be social, or on our own time. Yeah, it's hard, but they get used to it. It's just, they know it's part of their job. So.
That's really fascinating, and there's so much I want to kind of go into in depth about this. It's we had Auggie, the wonder dog that I referred to, is kind of a beagle plus something else that no one's really sure if. We rescued him from a shelter, and he's pretty awesome. But we had, before Auggie, we had a border collie, and he was amazing, and it was really, really fun when we had kids over the yard. When he was younger, he would always try to herd my kids and their friends into whatever formation the dogs put sheep into, and he was really good at it too, without any training.
Yeah, working dogs, it's so part of their instinct and embedded into them that, like, Riley's a retriever, so she's always has a slipper in her mouth. She's always retrieving shoes, and they picks up all the dirty laundry off the ground. The same with, like a herding dog is always herding kids, but border collies are really smart. They know, like 400 commands or something. Mm-hmm. There's the whole 60 Minutes episode. I don't know if you saw that on dogs knowing commands, and it was based on a border collie.
Yeah, I didn't see that episode. I would have been disappointed because my dog was really smart. He didn't know 400 commands, but I think that was my fault. It wasn't the dog's fault.
Yeah.
It was a reflection of my intelligence.
To teach that. I certainly don't.
So one of the things I want to get into is this idea of kids reading to dogs. I've heard this from a number of people, and it makes perfect sense. We talk here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast about the value of reading aloud with our kids and to our kids. But it's also really helpful for kids, especially kids who are struggling reading, to read aloud to an adult. And if there's not an adult around, then it can be very helpful for the child to read to a dog. And can you talk a little bit more about what you went into about the dog not judging and why you've found that it's helpful for a child to read to a dog?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the kids love Riley. Like when she walks up to the school, it's recess and all the kids are playing outside from her previous classes. She works with first graders, and they all come running up to her, and they're like, she's like a star walking, down the red carpet, and they're all like, Riley, Riley, and they're all petting her. So she's really loved. And then she goes in the classroom and she plops down on the carpet where the kids come in reading groups, and they sit, in a group of 3 and take turns reading to her. And the kids are so proud of their improvement and what reading, and if they, move up to a higher reading level. And I think one story I'd like to share is about a little boy, I'll call him Michael, who has selective mutism. So every time it would be his turn to read to Riley, I would say, Michael, do you want to read to Riley now? And he would just shake his head no. And I said, do you want to just play with her? And he'd shake his head yes, and just pet her and look in her ears. And this went on for a couple months. And one day I'm there, I said, Michael, do you want to read to Riley today? And he shook his head yes. I was like, wow. So he picks his book and he starts reading to Riley in the tiniest whisper. I could barely hear him, and he finishes the book. I said, wow, that was amazing. I said, Riley has great ears. She could hear every word you said perfectly, but I don't. I'm a little hard of hearing, so next time could you read a little louder? And he shook his head, yes. Always had a big smile on his face. And he just kept reading louder and louder, like always in a whisper. He never made it past a whisper, but that was to me like sums it all up. Like she finally, just her patience and her not being judgmental, like brought him enough out of his shell to eventually read to her.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. It really is. And it must give you so much joy knowing that all the time and effort and maybe investment that you put into Riley to become a therapy dog really made a huge difference in his life.
Yeah, it was great. It made me so happy.
That's wonderful.
And yeah, Riley obviously didn't notice. For me, it made me so happy. So
I think dogs are really intuitive. I have a feeling he probably understood that you were very happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm like kind of almost 100 years old, and I can definitely appreciate dogs comforting kids and giving them that confidence to read when they're struggling or when they're a bit reluctant. I absolutely understand dogs going into nursing homes and comforting the elderly and having giving elderly folks a chance to interact with this loving, beautiful dog. I'm not quite sure I get the whole comforting college kids taking their finals. Can you get into, I'm going to try to be non-judgmental here and like Riley and kind of understand that, because that's a little hard one for me.
It's a good question. Well, there's a lot of research done that say animals lower blood pressure and help with, anxiety and stress. So I think it's sort of along those lines. So, college kids are all stressed out before taking exams and, they're cramming and studying. So basically, they'll pick one of the colleges is, Pace University. They pick one day and different therapy dogs come in for hour shifts, and the kids, and they have a big sign, therapy dog, and the kids literally just come and chill and pet her and throw her a ball, and she'll, catch balls and just hang out.
All right, so I'm, again, trying not to be judgmental, and if it's working for those college kids, helping them kind of chill out and relax, then that's wonderful. One of the things, and I just, you may not be the person to answer this, but we hear about therapy. We've been hearing about therapy dogs a lot lately. But we also hear about people going to other extremes with therapy, hamsters, and I even heard a person wanted to take a therapy horse on an airplane. Is these situations where the news media is blowing things out of proportion, or is this a real thing, or are people kind of taking advantage?
Yeah, those are actually they're getting certified as service pets, and I think a lot of these people, I don't want to, spill any beans here, but get like these papers that aren't necessarily true so they can travel with their pets on a plane and bring them to work, so they could bring them to office buildings. So Riley, being certified as a therapy dog, she can't do that. Like, I can't take her on a plane, and if the Good Dog Foundation found out if I try to pass her off as a service dog, she would be fired from her job. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I think some of them are service dogs, and I think they're legitimate. But I took a plane home from Florida like a couple months ago, and there was like 7 service dogs on that plane, and maybe one of them was truly a service dog. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's not so legitimate, but it's working for these people for now. They get to travel with their pets, which I would love to do, but I can't. Riley gets car sick and motion sickness, so she's too big.
Well, I really respect that you are respecting the spirit of this service, and I love that you're introducing this to the kids in this way. What kind of reactions are you getting from families that have experienced Riley the Retriever wants a new job?
A really good reactions from the book. Mm-hmm. And the kids, like one of the kids in the classroom keeps saying to me, she's like my motivator. Like, Riley the Retriever wants a new job is the first in a series. And I want to write, eventually Riley the Retriever, goes to school. So teaches about the therapy dog education. And this little girl, every time I go, Annie says, did you write the second book? Did you write the second book? And so one day I'm like, okay, you're really motivating me. So I like spent all weekend writing it, and I came in and I read it to the kids. I'm like, oh, we want to be your editors and your publisher. I'm like, that would be great. And again, today I went there and she said, did you write the book? I said, I've been a little busy, but next week I'm going to have more for my book. So that, so that's been really, that makes me feel really good. And, the reaction to Riley, like I did an event at FAO Schwartz in New York City about a month ago, and I brought Riley and I sold the book, and people from all over the world were there, and they bought the book, and they, like one family was from England, and they were traveling without their child. He was about like 4 years old, and then Riley has an Instagram account, and they messaged me on Instagram sending pictures of their son and how much he loved the book. And another little girl who is from Russia, and she's traveling the world, and she couldn't even speak English, and she loved the book. So, it's that, it makes you feel so good when you get all these really positive responses.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've received a lot of positive responses in terms of awards. The book has won a number of awards.
Well, this one actually, this is my second book that I published. My first book is Take a Peek with Peek-A-Bear, and that book won 5 awards.
Wow.
2 gold medals. And Riley, so sadly, I wrote Riley the Retriever with my mother, Deborah Mangle, who sadly passed away about 2 years ago. And so it was really hard for me to like pick it up. Like the book was not in print, and I still was editing it, and I sort of, I was taking care of my father at that point, who was suffering from dementia. And so I thought it was so hard to get, back on the horse and finish it. And I thought I have to do it. I have 3 daughters. I have to show them to complete what you started. And my mom, I knew, would be really mad at me if I never finished it. So I didn't enter this book, into contest because the copyright date didn't match the publishing date because of everything that I had gone through before printing it. But it felt so good when I finally did print it in the book and like came to life. So.
It sounds like Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job was kind of your therapy dog.
Yeah, she is my therapy dog. She's really comforts me. You come home with a bad day and she greets you. It makes you feel so good, as you know, with being a dog owner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Peek-A-Bear.
So Peek-A-Bear is a board book that's geared to preschool age children, and it's called a Peek and Play book because it's interactive. It has pulls and it has tabs and wheels, and it's very brightly colorful illustrations, and it's about a little bear, Peek-A-Bear, who is going on different forms of locomotion, such as a plane, a train, a car, and it peeks out the window, and it's different rhymes telling the reader what Peek-A-Bear sees. And then the kids can lift up the window. So in the plane, you lift it exactly how you do a pull, exactly how you would lift up the window in a plane. And in the train, it's curtains like in a train. So it's very whimsical, and it's actually a lot of fun.
What was it that inspired you to become a children's author?
Good question. So I am a graphic designer. And I worked, at Macy's for about 7 years in their advertising department, and I worked at Vice magazine. Then I had stopped working, and I had children, and I did a lot of freelance graphic design while I was home. And my dream was always to be a children's writer. And with just raising kids, I kept having ideas popping in my head all the time, and I had like a whole notebook at home filled with children's book ideas. So finally I said, all right, I'm going to try to, write a book, and decided to publish it on my own.
That's fantastic. I do have to make one correction, though. My daughter would be very upset with me if I didn't make this correction.
Sure.
You said you stopped working to go home and raise your kids. And she would say, even though she is a young professional woman, she would say that any mom staying at home with her kids is absolutely working really hard.
True. Very true. But yes, that's very true.
So
very hard. Nothing harder than raising kids.
So we mentioned that there may be a new chapter in Riley's adventures coming in the future. Do you have any other characters that you're playing with and thinking about creating stories around?
Well, I always have, ideas popping in my head. Right now, I'm going to stick with the Riley series and try to get that worked on, and we'll see what happens from there. Like maybe I'll introduce one of her working dog friends. I would love to, one of my dreams is to have a farm with farm animals that could be therapy pets, such as like mini horses and pigs. So maybe I'll have a whole series of therapy pets, animals.
That would be wonderful. Hey, one question I want to ask, and it's because we're having this interview today that I'm asking this question. I received a message from a friend of mine who is the chaplain, the National Circus chaplain. And I've known him for decades, and he actually travels around to minister to all the different circus performers and the different circuses that travel the country. And one of the things that's happened to a lot of circuses is that they've eliminated animals because of protest, people protesting that animals shouldn't be used as, in these kind of situations. I'm curious, do any people protest that dogs are being used as therapy dogs?
No, definitely not. People embrace it because they're bringing, so much joy to them, and we're not doing it against their will. Whereas elephants in the circus are being, worked hard all the time and doing it against their will. Riley doesn't want to do it. She doesn't have to do it, but she loves it. Like when I put on her bandana, she jumps in the car and she pulls me into the classrooms. So she loves the attention. She loves people. So definitely not.
Yeah. Excellent. And one thing that I learned, and I learned it because we had we made a disabilities awareness video, and one of the stars of the video was a man who was visually impaired. He was blind, and he had a service dog. And I've always loved dogs, so I would always want to go over and say hi to the dog. And it was it's very hard for me to learn that when the dog is when a service dog is working, you don't talk to him.
No. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought up guiding eye dogs because I'm donating 100% of my portions of the proceeds to Guiding Eyes for the Blind in Yorktown, New York. And it's true. You cannot socialize. Again, the dog cannot socialize when it's working, and people are not to come up because you don't want to distract the dog when it's leading someone, and then he'll miss, the curb, and the person that he's leading will get hurt. Right. So yeah, that's hard for me too because I'm always love greeting different dogs. So I found that difficult too.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody where they can find you. We don't want people to have a difficult time finding you on the internet. So tell folks where they can connect with you.
So you could follow me on Instagram, Working Dog Tales, Tales. And Riley has a lot of followers, and she could always use more. And you can also go to my website, which is www.peekabearwithhyphens.com. And Riley is available for purchase on my website. The book is on Amazon and local bookstores.
Excellent. Well, we certainly think that Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job would be an excellent addition to any family's family library. We've had such a great time talking to the author tonight, Jill Weisfeld. Jill, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I had such a good time talking with you.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are going to be welcoming Jay Huffman. Jay Huffman, he is an innovator joining us from Silicon Valley. He is part of a team that's created something called the Storied app. And I just can't wait to learn more about it. I know you're going to want to learn all about it as well. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We've had so much going on today. One of the things we started with was the announcement that Love Grows and Grows by Shannon Forster is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. We've assembled a team of evaluators. They're educators, they're teachers, they're parents, they're kids. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. And with that status comes a whole lot of great promotional tools that will help you let the world know that your book stands out from the crowd of books that are published every single week. It gives parents the knowledge and the confidence that your book is worthy of their consideration. There's not a lot of room in some of our family shelves. Our budgets for books are tight, and families want to know when they purchase a book that they can count on it being a great addition to their family library. Well, the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read is a great way to reassure parents that your book would be a great addition to their family library. Check it out today at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. We want to thank Jill Mango Weisfeld for joining us today. Make sure you check out Riley the Retriever Wants a New Job. We also want to thank our sponsors, Elaine, Kylie Kearns. Make sure you check out Noasaurus, Laurie Wright, and I Can Handle It. We also want to thank Donna Sager-Cowan, the author of the Superhero School series, With the Courage of a Mouse. I also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. She does so much for the show. Thank you very much, Fatima. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, we really do hope that you subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on iTunes, or wherever you find your podcast. We also would love it if you had a chance to leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcast. And we also want to thank you for taking the time to make the world a better place. You know, you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.